View to this town hall meeting. I want to personally thank each and every one of you gentlemen who have agreed to participate. Real quick, this town hall meeting has been put on by the HRC, which is the Hermitage Road community. We call ourselves a family. If you're from the Hermitage Road area, from Collectors Hill to Middle Road, you are part of our family. We have a group chat. And this is how this all started. Our neighbors asked for a town hall meeting and they have gotten it. So those of you who got the memo, got the message to be here tonight, thank you very much. My name is Aisha Trott and I have put this together with a committee of Hermitage Road residents. For tonight's town hall meeting, the moderator for this will be Maxwell Burgess, JPMP, and he will do all the introductions, thank you.
Good evening to you all. Just a little bit of housekeeping. I know you're like me, no one's going to call you, but I'd like for you to turn your phones down or turn them off as to assure that we don't have the meeting interrupted. What I will do is I'll pass the mic along the table. Each member will introduce themselves and then we'll get started. In an attempt to make this as meaningful as possible, I know all of us have views. I actually have two of my own. But when you stand, I'd ask that you sort of keep your views to yourself and really put the question. And when the member comes to your house, you're entitled to give him your views, then some. But for tonight, for the purposes of a reasonable, useful exchange, I'll ask that you ask the question, give them an opportunity to answer. I think I might allow one follow-up, so I don't want you to try to get your law degree here tonight by cross-examining them, but you certainly can ask sort of a second question. So without any further ado, why don't I'm going to do something that they did when I was coming along. Now I'm going to date myself. When I came along, we never started our meetings without a quick prayer, and I'm going to propose that we have one now. Dear Heavenly Father, we come. We thank you for an opportunity where we can get together, where we can share a meaningful exchange. Lord, I ask that you bless this meeting to the betterment of our country, and that in the end we do what is best and in your sight. Oh Lord, I pray. Amen. Amen. So, you're just going to introduce yourself now.
Probably a 3 minute, Mr. Campbell.
Pardon?
Within 3 minutes.
Yes. So we're doing the 3 minutes now. That was my question. So, yeah. Good evening, everyone. First of all, if you hear me cough, I do have a cough. I tend to get one every time, this time of year. I have tested myself 3 times this week, so including today, because I didn't want to miss this. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for coming out. I've run in this constituency. This will be the 4th time. I live near the constituency. I've worked in the constituency 19 years. I'm the current MP, having successfully won the seat in the last election. And my family considers Devonshire their home, Devonshire East. What affects Devonshire East affects us. And so we feel privileged to represent you. We've come to know many of you. We've been to birthday parties. We've reached out to you on your birthday. We've mourned with you, unfortunately. We've been to too many funerals, and many we could not make, but we made as many as we could. We even spoke at 2 of those funerals. So we see ourselves integrated into the community of Devonshire East. I was born in an incubator, so I'm also dating myself and putting myself in a small group of privileged people. And I grew up in Devonshire. My early days were Devonshire West. But I see myself and my family view us as part of the Devonshire East family now. So thank you very much.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jeffrey Fiala. I'm the OBA candidate for Constituency 11. Just like to thank Ms. Chop for putting on this event. I think it's a wonderful opportunity to engage with the members of the community and allow you the opportunity to ask us questions, evaluate us as the people who will be representing you in Parliament. So a little about me. My wife and I moved to the constituency Poinciana Crescent in 2017. Found a house there, decided to start a family. I'm from Southampton originally, born and raised, and I'm an attorney by trade for my sins. I started my career working in the Attorney General's chambers as a member of the Public Prosecutions Department, and then also helped develop policy and draft law there. In terms of my community involvement, I feel that community service and giving back to the community is an important part of any person's responsibilities, and I've participated in a number of wonderful programs, Meals on Wheels, the Center Against Abuse, and a number of other charitable endeavors, including some individual friends that I have who from the seniors community who need help on a regular basis. I look forward to your questions, and I'm again excited to be part of this event.
Good evening, everyone. Dwight Jackson. I am your neighbor from Studio Lane, but I am trying to be your representative in Smith's West, C9. I am your educator. I've been an educator for almost 30 years. I've been a youth coach. My affiliation and tapestry for being in C9 is that I've taught those same children that are now adults now. I've coached those children that are now adults now. When it comes to leadership positions, I've been the General Secretary for the Trade Union Congress for a few years. The time has passed. But right now we find ourselves at a crossroads. Without going into any much detail, you know for yourselves that this is a pivotal time in Bermuda's history where there needs to be a different choice. There needs to be a different opportunity to take our lives in a different direction. Many of you have accepted me on your doorstep. We've had various conversations to appreciate or understand the time that we find ourselves in, of time for change, time for something different. So allow me to be that person. Appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for being here this evening, and thank you to our Hermitage community for putting on an event that we need in our country. We need more open forums of dialogue where people come together, listen to the representatives express their ideas, so I'm very grateful to be here this evening. My name is Shomari Talbot-Woolridge. I am your actual neighbor. Many of you have welcomed me into your homes and on your doorsteps. I am a resident of Smith's West. I have been and lived in this constituency practically all my life. So I remember the days of Trevor Monez being our MP for quite some time. And I also am not just a resident of this constituency, but I have many family, friends in this constituency. I am kin to Jim Woolridge, Uncle Jim, who is and was a great statesman in our country, and I would love to continue his legacy. I am a young man. Probably the one thing that you can notice up here is that many of my colleagues up here are quite older than me. So and with that youth comes a new outlook and perspective on the things in our country. And as a young person and someone who obviously has peers and whatnot that are young, we also want to be a part of the political process. That's why I'm here today, to be one of the young people who step up and forges a future for our country, where we embrace technology, where we embrace the changes of the modern world and we adapt to it as Bermudians, as we've always done. The same way that we collect rainwater on our roofs, because we adapt to the challenges of our circumstances. And I want to bring that same in innovation and ingenuity to our country as a young person. I want to bring it to Smith's West, which is a community of the best of the people of our country. I have met educators, I have met people who educated me when I was young. I've met educators, I have met public servants, I have met people with the best intentions for their neighbors, their community, and their country. And I am excited to go on this journey with you as your candidate and hopefully as your MP.
Thank you, young guy. Good evening, family. Bon noite, familia. That means good night in Portuguese. My name is Chris Famous, if you don't know me. I can safely say I was born and bred in Devonshire. I am related to probably half the room that's in here, in one way or the other. And for the last 8 years, I've been privileged to be the MP for Devonshire East, where I was raised. One of my things that I'm grateful for is that the people that I represent are not my constituents. They are categorically my neighbors and my family. And in doing so, their concerns, whether it be overgrown trees, whether it be the bus stop needs painting, whatever it may be, their concerns are my concerns. Their concerns are what we in Devonshire, under the guidance of somebody in this room I will point to, we in Devonshire have taken upon ourselves to take care of our parish without relying on others to do so. So I say that in the sense that what you see here tonight is unique in Bermuda, that the Hermitage Road family has taken upon themselves to put together this town hall. It's not a debate, let's be clear, it's not a debate. This town hall for our neighbors to ask questions, get information from a variety of young and not so young persons. And when you leave here tonight, you will know what Devonshire is about. It's about us as one family. Thank you.
One of the jobs of a moderator is to be non-biased and show no favoritism in one direction or the other. So I don't want to start off on a bad foot, but I'm a very sensitive man. And young man, when you start telling me how old I am, with such grace, I just want you to know that's probably the best introduction I've gotten to my age, and you may be responsible for me beginning to accept it. But let's get started for the reasons that we're really here, which is you've heard the introductions of all of the 5 candidates. Let's give them a round of applause. And what I will do now is let's get down to business and ask who would like to start off with the first question. Yes.
Okay, so thank you all for all of that. But really quickly, I would like to open up the food to you guys as well, so that while this is happening, you can take a nibble. Please use the tongs. Okay, thank you. Okay.
All right, who has the first question? Yes, okay, Aisha.
Good evening, everybody. My first question is for the NBA candidates. As somebody at Shomari said, I'm a younger person. So I kind of grew up and kind of followed politics and encouraged other people to get into politics. So my question to you is, somebody who pays attention, is very tech savvy, who likes to engage in these types of forums, how would you help me build better trust in the OBA as a party? Just knowing some of the things that have come out after you guys left the party, like after you guys got out of power and the PLP came into power in regards to some of the larger projects. And the accounting around those, and then like the airport deal, like some of those specifics, like how are we supposed to trust you after a lot of that stuff has come out, but it didn't come from you.
Michelle. I'm sorry.
Okay, the first thing, you have to make sure you have the correct information as well, and you have to understand the circumstances during 2012 to 2017, and the state of the finances of the country dictated what we could and could not do. But as far as the young people, I have a few young people of my own, so I understand where you're coming from. And what I would recommend and suggest to my OBA colleagues, if we are the next government, is that we form some sort of youth advisory committee so that we can reach out and get the opinions of our young people. And I'm talking about people such as Shomari, whether he's successful or not. I'm talking about Noel Young. I'm talking about Taj Donville Yard. A lot of the people that have, young people have been speaking out, get their opinions, get their input into the legislation that we bring to the House that will shape the Bermuda to come, because they are the ones that will inherit it. My time is limited. Hopefully not anytime soon, but it's limited. So it's important that we embrace the young people, and the more we do that, I think the more we can build that trust that you spoke of.
So I think one of the first things we could do is make sure that we get absentee balloting on the books. That's the principal means of engagement for any generation, is to vote. And if you can't vote when you are the generation that has the most at stake, because it's your future, that is a real travesty. And it's something that the OBA has already publicly committed to doing within the first year. I would certainly use my skill set and my influence within our caucus to prioritize that. I think making that a priority would not only demonstrate our commitment to ensuring that young people, and frankly all people who may not be able to vote on the day appointed by the premier in power at the time, to be able to participate regardless of circumstance. And of course, with that comes certain opportunities to leverage technology, and we can also, there are plenty of other opportunities for engagement that would, I think, enhance the opportunity for the youth to engage. I would love to see video cameras in the House of Assembly so that people, because listening to the debate when you're committed to it is dry at the best of times. You can get a little sparky towards the latter end of the motion to adjourn, but having television cameras in there in like most modern parliaments is, I think, also a great way to engage. So those are two ideas just off the top of my head for how I think that we could improve the ability for young people to engage in our process. And I'm fully committed to making sure that those happen under an OBA government.
We're going to have a fall. Sorry. Okay.
Hi, good evening, everybody. This is one question I need. This is to the Hill Board. Seeing all the violence in Bermuda, all the shootings, all the deaths, what are your plans to try and stop this, or try and put a halt to all the craziness? Because you've got feminists actually fighting feminists, and it's got to stop, because at the end of the day, It's hurting our communities, and that's what we're living for, our communities. And we can't live for our communities if they keep on falling.
Thank you for that question. I think the first thing we need to do is fund certain things appropriately, starting with the police. Now, I'm going to say something that's cliche, which we can't police ourselves out of this, but we also have to fund those agencies that support families, because a lot of this starts when the family is dysfunctional, and they're not, and our kids are not getting proper training at home and the proper care at home. I'll give an example also is to support helping agencies, and especially those agencies that are at the forefront at the early age, before our kids get caught up in violence and gangs, such as Frontline. I say that because I see a representative, or a former representative, I'm not sure if they're still involved, of Frontline. And why I say that is because I vividly remember being at the Victor Scott School field when there was an event put on to commemorate a shooting that took place on that field at Good Friday. And we had a lot of those helping agencies there. And what I saw, like the prison ministries had crowds of people around their front line, and some of the other, which was Young Life at that time, had very few people visiting those, and I thought that was the other way around. It should be that those agencies that help our kids, it could be Boy Scouts, it could be Girl Guides, Sea Cadets, who get our young kids at an early age, they should have the crowds there saying, how can I get my kid in this? Instead of the other way around. After they're already in trouble, then we're at prison ministry. So we have to front end a lot of our efforts to keep our kids from getting involved in gang activity and violence, but also still work with them if they do for rehabilitation. Thank you.
Thanks. I would agree and support what Francis said about the fact that this is a problem that has a number of different factors, and it's not something that we can just police our way out of. There's social sources of the issues, and those need attention. I also think that the programs that we have put in place as a country could benefit from greater transparency, metrics, measurement, being able to follow along with what's happening and making sure that the investment that we are putting into those programs is actually being properly used to achieve the results that we're looking for. I had a mentor of mine early in my career who made the point, you can't manage what you can measure. And the fact is, we have no clear way at the moment of understanding what has been done to actually reduce youth violence, gang violence, and crime across our island, and particularly in our community in Devonshire and Smiths. Funding for the police is absolutely important. I also think that giving the police and other investigative agencies the tools to help build investigations and get convictions is also important. As a former prosecutor, I know the importance of having concrete evidence, particularly in these types of crimes, violent crime. So CCTV cameras, which we've been promised, we need to bring those and roll those out and put those in strategic places and in areas where they're going to be able to identify people and add that other very important data point to investigations. But also, we need to be sensitive to people's privacy concerns, because CCTV has its ups and its downs, as other jurisdictions have learned. So, yeah, those would be two suggestions and proposals that I would support if I were your representative, to make sure that we have the evidence needed to actually bring people to justice and solve the social issues and actually allow our community to see the progress. And if there's no progress, hold the people who are responsible for achieving those results accountable.
That's a great question, Alex. First of all, our education product has to improve. As an educator, it has been unfortunate for me to see middle school, and I've said this in media, I've said this to whom I would listen, I've said this to persons in various echelons of academia. I said middle school has been partly to blame for the anti-social behavior that we have found ourselves in this day and age that we call them gangs. People have always congregated. We've always done that. We've always hung out. We've always had our ace boys. We've always been to go, being able to go to different communities and so on and so on. But there was a different element that came just because of that middle school theme that came into our society, and it was like, okay, so I can't go here, I can't go there. How dystopian was it when you was hearing guys saying that I can't go past Paget stoplights, and I can't go past this particular area, I can't go there, and so on and so on. I heard a friend of mine say that she has a son who's from Somerset, lives in St. George's now, but he can't visit his mom, his family in the daytime. He has to come undercover, he has to come ignorant, but that's not solving the problem. The problem that I see is that we have to get our educational product correct. We have to fix that. We have to give our young men options as far as whatever their interests are, sports, the vocational. I've lost students to the streets. Prior to that, the conversations that I've had with them is that, Mr. Jackson, I still have to eat. I'm still got to take care of my family. And the concern is palpable. Whereas, like, I would venture to say they don't want to do that. They don't want to go around taking out family members and so on and so on. But it's either you do it or you die. And as a society and as a, no disrespect, as a black man, it's affecting my culture. Only. So when it comes to finding things to try and solve the problem, yeah, I get it. We need to police more. We need to give more funds and so on and so on. But how do we stop it? So that within the next 10 years, perhaps, but we are talking about something completely different, and we've solved this problem. That's where I'm at. Let's try and solve it. Not dance all around it and let's put a little band-aid here, a little band-aid there. I want to solve this. I have a young black son. No, I got you. I have a young black son. I don't have the answer. But I'm just saying, I am trying with regard to education from my lens. Education. Get the education correct. Get the sporting product that we have correct, so that our young men who do have talent, that they can actually go somewhere with it.
Thank you. I think everybody is looking for concrete solutions. I think everybody is looking for plans and concrete solutions to issues that affect each and every one of us. You know, I'm a young black man myself, so this is not just, an abstract thing to me. This is my life. This is my classmates and my cousins and my peers all life that we have to deal with We're the ones that, when we go out, we are inferred because we don't want to go to a football game, or we don't want to go out because there might be something happening. And the deep-seated issues that we have in this issue, it is a symptom of the cracks in our community. That's exactly what it is. It's a symptom of the cracks in our community. I remember I was doing a panel with, Bermuda is Love was there as well, and they talked about how they would take people and they would go on nature walks with people and show them the edible fauna in our community. And they brought this up as an example of how they fostered community. And what I told them was 30, 40 years ago, it wouldn't have been an organization to do that. It would have been a person in the community who would have taught our young men how to fish, who would have taught them how to fix their bikes, who would have taught them how to do things that a lot of our young men don't know how to do. They don't know how to change a tire. Ask them. And these are my peers. So it is the cracks in our community that are coming to show and that are oozing out through the form of violence, through the form of addiction, through the form of so many things that bubble to the top, that many of the time we see a person and we just say and want to condemn them, but we don't understand what's beneath the surface. And we have to bridge those gaps in our community. We have to bring back those those stalwarts in our community that everybody knows that's Mr. Jones's yard. Go ahead, ask him for a peach over his tree. He'll give it to you. He might even teach you how to plant things for yourself. We don't have those people in the community no more. We need to engage those stalwarts and get them back out, engage with our young people, so that people in our communities don't know their neighbor, but they know the neighbor now. They know Miss McCarty across the street. Like I do. Thank you.
Let's be frank here. Violence does not just affect the black community, right? We cannot dismiss that there was a young man who passed this year who wasn't quote unquote from the black community. So violence affects everybody. Late last year, mid-year, I got a call that no person should ever get, that two young men who I consider sons were slaughtered, all right? Wasn't that they came from bad families, they came from great families. It wasn't that they didn't have education. They both were high school graduates, one was in university. It wasn't that they were into things that they shouldn't have been into. So I say sometimes people in positions of authority or positions of influence use cookie cutter terms to say what's causing violence. None of us know what caused those two men, young men, or the young man down at Devonshire Bay to be slaughtered, taken away from us. So so none of us have the answer either. But what I will say, and I say this as a father, is that if us as the community, as Shomari alluded to, it starts with us in the community. It doesn't start at school, it doesn't start at helping services. By that time, it's kind of already too late. It starts with all of us who's sitting there in this room today. When we see young men that need guidance, just like I needed guidance at times, we take them under our wings, or we say, okay, I need you to paint this wall for me or something. You never know what that does for that young man's self-esteem. So that's what I would say. I also want to recognize MP Anthea Wade Simmons from C25.
Good. Can we have the next question?
I just wanted to respond to the gentleman that spoke about the middle schools when the trouble started. Trouble started long before the middle schools. I worked in the prison system, And just like we heard earlier, you have to really recognize problems and take it in control. Now, not to big up myself, but one of the things I did was to put together a mentor program at the prisons to help the young man. And because that was successful, we then did the program for the females. So we have to look around and see what the problems are and see what we could step out and do, and not always cast blame on things and people. I think that's what we have to look at.
Good evening, everyone. Having spoken about youth and how important they are to our future, will you address the situation of absentee ballots and hopefully implement it? And if there is an objection to it, why would there be an objection to it? Thank you. That's for anybody or all of you.
I am 100% in support of absentee voting and absentee balloting. As a young person, it's my peers, like I said, who are affected by this very issue, and the election was called. Of course, I'm also the chairman of the PLP's youth wing, so of course we weren't happy that some of our peers were not going to be eligible to vote. Well, not eligible, but not given the opportunity to vote. So if I am elected, I would push this like hell, because let it be the last election that we don't have our young people voting. And I'll also say this, I am part of the PLP, I am the representative for the PLP. And it was this party that brought one man, one vote. So why can't we expand voting rights to our young people? And I want to push my party and that legacy of my party to do just that.
I think you said earlier on, sorry, Dwight did, but
I have another crack at that.
Just to be clear, the histrionics of that particular subject, both parties has had ample time and the opportunity to sort it out. So how many bites of the cherry do you need to just follow through on whatever you say?
So, as I understand it, there was, when the writ was dropped, there was a lot of talk in the OBA of, we were working on that. Me being new to the party, I joined in 2023, late 2023, I asked the natural question, well, what specifically were you doing? And the answer was, we had the government of the time had prepared a report to evaluate not only the ways in which we could implement absentee balloting, but the legislative mechanisms for doing that. Unfortunately, the timing of that was just prior to what ended up being the dissolution of that government and a general election in 2017. When I learned that we had this information, I immediately asked my colleagues to see it, and I received a copy of the report. I've read the report, and I have already looked at what exactly would need to be done to amend the Parliamentary Elections Act to facilitate absentee balloting in our system of voting. I fully intend, when I'm in a position to do so, to table those proposals in Cabinet and move them through the legislative process as a priority. I think that will demonstrate not only the importance of absentee balloting for our engagement in our democracy, which is something that sadly I think we as a society have let slip from ourselves, respecting democratic norms, engaging in the democratic process. And also I think it will demonstrate the OBA's commitment to following through on a promise that we have made. And I will take great pleasure in helping to fulfill that promise. So that would be what I would say regarding absentee balloting.
And again, that has my full support. I don't think those of us sitting in this room understand the extent of this problem. I've come across it somewhere between 35 and 40 individuals, young people, who cannot vote, who, because they're either in school or overseas working, getting valuable experience that will benefit this country when they come back. So we have to get this done, and no more excuses. Thank you.
Can I just say, everyone agrees, so let's get it done. Everyone agrees.
So I was just going to conclude. The one thing we can take from the meeting, this is what I heard, was that both parties are committed to making sure it happens. Both parties see it as everyone, forgive me, my age, going to the young fella, I wouldn't remember if we got independence. But what we have is everybody committed to saying we're going to get it done. And to your point, it's not enough just to say it, but we get a commitment to achieve it. I already haven't concluded that. But Aisha, please. Who's next?
Hi, it's me again. Mr. Famous, I have a direct question for you. So I want to say, early part of the school year, Elliott released their, educational plan. And I think, Mr. Jackson, you hit the nail right on the head when you said they had a bite of the cherry, a bite of the cherry, a bite of the cherry. And me coming from a business background, to me it was all, okay, it's all smoke and mirrors. It's nothing tangible. For me, I want you to be talking to the HR managers, the heads of IT, your headhunters. What do our students need to leave primary school, to go into middle school, to go into high school, to be better people in our workforce? So my question to you is, you paid for this study to be done, all of this to happen, but there's no tangible plan. So how do we, and I say we, because Wolf Secretary very much involved, how do we move forward for a better school system for our children and our families moving forward?
Yeah, so you said Elliott School released the plan?
Yeah, so Ms. Crichton had like a flow chart where they got people from the community together, things that they wanted to improve in the school system. But instead of actually like hitting goals and okay, we want to improve literacy, we want to increase technology in the school, things like that, it was all kind of abstract, I think is what I'm trying to say. It was
Well, just for clarity, I'm not part of any school's infrastructure, right? They don't, just because I'm the MP, it's not that they're not going to include me in anything to do with the structure of the school itself. But let's go bigger than that, right? We have a country that we have to import large amounts of labor just to fix people's houses, just to fix your toilets back up, right? We have, as all of you heard, all of us here as a community, and it goes back to the other issue of addressing some violence, right? All of us here as a community have to speak to our young people and encourage them to take up skilled trades, right? Because how many people here have air conditioning units? I don't. But the point I'm getting at is when the summer comes and your air conditioning breaks down and you're calling somebody, I can almost guarantee you most likely it's going to be a non-Bermudian coming to fix that, right? All of us need our ACs or refrigerator. So part of the education system, or reform if you want to use that, it's not solely down to teachers such as Mr. Jackson, or whomever is the education minister. It's us as a community. Same way we encourage our young people to become actuaries and become doctors and lawyers and dentists. We have to encourage our young people to take up skilled trades, because people have this concept that people work in trades they do it because they can't use the hair. That's totally false. So I would say to you, without knowing what Elliot put out, that's what we as a community need to encourage our young people to get into. Because we're going to need more. The buildings, all of us have houses. By another 20 years, the plumbing's going, this is the electrical's going. We need our young people to stay in this art and learn their trades and fix these artists. Thank you.
I think your question might have been, what I heard was, where are the benchmarks in terms of deliverables, and that you didn't see that. I would ask that you perhaps visit back with a view to asking if someone can benchmark them for you. Okay, please.
So, good evening. Well, famous, based on what you just said, based on what Mr. Jackson said earlier, and what was said about the gang violence. Technical education was promised to this country by the PLP government. They have not delivered. They have gone to Australia to get ideas which cost the country millions of dollars when you had people here in this country that already had the expertise. I'm trying to tie this together before I put the question. We have gang violence, we have students who we have to bring people in to do the technical trades, by the way, who are not qualified in their areas. They may be, let's put it this way, they're not certified. They may be qualified from years of experience, but they're not certified. We have given away to acquiesce to the people in the country about conscription. And why I'm talking about conscription is because prison officers, police officers, firemen, EMTs were basically our uniformed services, customs officers, came out of the Bermuda regiment. You may not know it, I'm telling you, that's what took place. We gave up conscription. We gave up, before I go to this one, young men learn differently than young women. So as a young man, I look up to the older gentlemen in my school, and I see how things can go. Sometimes you get slapped upside your head, you get put in your place, but that's how you learn. Men, black, white, pink, or purple, know that's how you get on in this life. You know your place, or you learn your place. Middle schools took that away. Consequently, middle schools was the start of the gang violence in Bermuda. We have, I'm going to move on. We have a gang violence task force that has not produced a document by which me, as a young or older grandfather, can say to my grandson, these are the things you need to look out for. But the chairman of the gang task force has written a book. Now, I'm tying all this together. I'm going to ask two questions. Gentlemen, are you in favor of or against conscription? Gentlemen, are you in favor or against middle schools? And gentlemen, are you in favor against a technical school, 21st technical school, incorporated in this country?
Let me say, the reason I allowed that to run a bit was because I thought it'd be on to answer the question on how do we fix the problem of young men that we asked earlier on, and I heard the panel. Everyone acknowledged it, but no one said how we can fix it. Some suggested that they didn't know. No one said, well, what we'll do is try to find out someone who might know. But at least I thought that was the beginning of that. And secondly, I think there could be some value in the whole three questions being centered around that young boy, soon to become young man that we were talking about, that we seem to be missing through the cracks.
Can you you just repeat question number 1?
I know about conscription.
I grew up under a grandmother who was very strict. She allowed very little deviation from her rules. As I was going through that purgatory, I felt it was purgatory, I couldn't appreciate what she was trying to do. I grew up in a very rough area, and she was trying to equip us to deal with life in that area. I see conscription and having to go through the regiment, and I will declare that I never went to the regiment, and that's because I wanted to have it my way, so to speak. I was one of those kids who were selected to go into the regiment when they were in university, and at that time it was a loophole. Now, I had no problem doing the camps, but I didn't want to do, and I'm being honest, I didn't want to do the 1 week up at war camp, the 2 week camps, yeah, sorry. Because I love the physical stuff, I love to learn, but I just didn't want the inconvenience of going to work camp every Wednesday, I believe, if I remember correctly. But I do recognize that discipline, whether it's through sports, whether it's through work camp and the regiment, or some other aspect of life, is very important to when you enter the workforce and in life in general. I came up under the 2-tier system of education. I saw many pillars of the community come up under that system prior to me. I saw...
Sorry, sir. What I'll give you an opportunity to do is answer the second question, and we get to this one. If we can, for time and allow other people to participate, if you offer it, you say yes, and if they get
Okay, yeah, no, okay. So I see value in all three. But I do not, well, except the second part, I do not support the middle school concept, because I came up under the 2-tier system and we produced many of our leaders under that system. I didn't see the need to change.
You're determined not to answer the question. Are you for subscription or against it?
So I'll try and answer all three fairly succinctly. So question number 1, am I for conscription? Philosophically, I have difficulties with mandating those kinds of things by law, because there are circumstances where perhaps that isn't the appropriate way to deal with the situation. However, I will say I was medically discharged from the regiment. I did find national service through St. John's Ambulance, and then ultimately I served as a prosecutor, and I felt that was a valuable contribution to our society. So conscription, no. National service requirement, yes. I'm supportive of that, because I think that the discipline and the mandate to give back to your community is valuable for our society as a whole. Middle schools, so I'm at a bit of a disadvantage in that that's all I've known, but I will say this. I think in our education system, no political party has a monopoly on getting it wrong. And I think what we need to do is we need to let the educators and the parents decide what's best. An independent education authority where the politicians who don't know as much as the educators on how to educate our children, where the educators are making the decisions. And if that means returning or reshaping the education system to a completely different structure, I'd be supportive of that. And then finally, trades. These people are engineers. They're not just no-brain people that are used to working with their hands. These are important people in our society, and they're aging out. We're very close to a time where you are not going to have... I mean, how many Masons do you know under the age of 50. Not many. I think a trade school is only part of the solution. I think we should go further than that because the technical knowledge, yes, that's important, whether you're certified or not. The technical knowledge, particularly in this modern age where things like electricians and plumbing include computers, that's important. But that structure of guilds, where you're being educated on the softer aspects of your chosen trade. I was speaking with an individual the other night, and he is unfortunately wheelchair bound, like a master mechanic. Could walk you through how to break down and put back together a motorcycle through a YouTube video. He showed that that's possible. That's the knowledge that we need to be passing on to our youth. And whether that's through a formal course at the Bermuda College or some other trade school dedicated to those topics, but also through a structured system where you have the guidance of your seniors in that trade to bring you along, teach you the business, teach you the tricks of the trade and how to go about doing things and how to deal with people. That additional support is incredibly important. So apprentices, journeymen through to masters, all of that. We need to build that back up. So I hope that answered all three of your questions.
My question was, are you in favor of a 21st century technical school? Yes or no?
Well, yes, I think I answered that because of the technology that's inherent in all of these trades now. Absolutely.
It's a great question, Mr. Trent. I'll go backwards. Obviously, as an educator, yeah, I am for the vocational. I'm sorry. I'm for the vocational. Just for clarity, those vocational pursuits are still in education. They're still there. The unfortunate thing is that the paradigm that we live in now is that we want everyone to carry a briefcase. We want everyone to be doctors and lawyers and businessmen and so on and so on, because that's the model that we generally see now. But those things are still there. They just aren't pushed. They aren't as attractive. So when it comes to middle school, so yes, and for that. Middle school, you know what, I'm totally against. I'm glad that it will be phased out under this new reform. That's another can of worms, but we'll leave that for another day. With regard to conscription, I'm glad that you brought up the phraseology of national service. I was never trying to be in the regiment. Never. However, I joined the police reserves. It was more palatable. But I think that that's a viable conversation, because I think that the state has an obligation to make sure that the men have a skill set, that they can be channeled into doing something. Because as of now, like young men that I come into contact with, they can't do nothing. They can't do anything. And then you ask, I mean, yeah, it's a great idea. Go over to your neighbor, go over there or whatever, get that person, take them out of their wing and all that stuff. All those are great. But you can catch more persons if there is something that's more systemic. I'll leave it with that.
So first with conscription, I do not support conscription at all. So we're not going back there. Especially because it only affects men. I mean, we have young women who get in trouble and do things too. I don't understand why it would be specific to one gender especially. So let's...
It doesn't have to be.
Okay, well, it was before just men. So what I'm talking about is that I just don't believe the government should just mandate us to do regiment. National service is a good idea, but again, I just don't like the mandating people to do things like that. When it comes to the education system, I probably am one of the few people who did go to middle school here. But I mean, I want the best education system that we can have. I'm not an expert in education, but I can tell you that we all want to see a better education system. We all want to see an education system that equips our people to be our Bermudian children to be 21st century Bermudians, and that's something that we are going to have to contend with. It's a phrase that the education system of today is the economy of tomorrow. And if we are not preparing our people, and I like the idea of a technical school, but not just confined to the standard trades, but we are living in a new world. And like I said before, we are living in a world with so much innovation and technology, and we can put our people to work and don't have to get a college degree to do it, because a lot of jurisdictions now are not. They're realizing that you don't need a college degree to do certain jobs. You just need that training and certification. So that's something that I also push for. And the last question was a third one? That was all of them? Okay, well, yeah, that would be my input there.
Good evening again. I guess I could safely say I'm the only one in this panel that has served this country with a regiment. So, I was not conscripted, I volunteered. I served 5 years in the specific to the point of conscription, there's merit for national service, but I believe that we as a country have to further develop our regiment to encourage more volunteers, because when there's a hurricane, we need people to cut down the trees. I and many other hundreds of Bermudian men during Hurricane Emily brought this country back.
Yes, sir.
I and hundreds of other young men and some women went to other islands when they were struck with hurricanes. Bermuda was known for sending plane, right? So I believe in military service. I didn't duck it like other people, right? In regards to the middle school system, I'm part of the government that has phased out middle school system. So that answers that question. In regards to technical schools, I can possibly say I'm the only one on this panel that has went to technical school. I graduated from Berkeley and went straight to Bermuda College, which was the remnants of the Bermuda Technical Institute. I have been able to have a very comfortable lifestyle working at Belco for 32 years, and many other young men and women that went to Bermuda College have started their own businesses, built their own homes, so on and so forth. And that is what I alluded to earlier, that our young persons at present who are not doing technical skills are missing out on a lifestyle that can afford them unlimited opportunities.
Yes, sir.
So the government can put things in place, but it's up to the community, all of us here, to encourage our young people that these are noble trades. Right? So I simply say to you that irrespective of who's the government in 14 days, it's the community that has a responsibility to encourage not just young people, but all of us to do what has to be done, because 36 people can't do it. I can guarantee you. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. I can't resist the temptation. I saw a cartoon where a young man showed up at the bank with a briefcase full of cash. And the teller says to him, "Young man, where did you get the cash from?" He says, "If you don't tell my mom, I'll tell you." He says, "Where you get it from?" He says, "I'm a plumber." so there is value and a good living in the trades. Next question, please.
It has been said that the only way to protect Bermudians is to vote along certain party lines, particularly in response to Michael Fay's return and his famous pathways to status. Meanwhile, many Bermudians are leaving the island for the UK and elsewhere due to increasingly difficult economic and social conditions. To all candidates, What do you have to say to those who feel abandoned by the government? And what concrete solutions do you propose to address this exodus and make Bermuda a place where people can thrive?
Good stuff.
That's a really good question. And I think if we all answer that to the fullest of our ability, we'll have to come back here another day. First and foremost, you have to have an economy in which there are opportunities. And education ties, and this is a multifaceted solution because education has to prepare people for those opportunities. There have to be opportunities. Education has to have prepared our people for those opportunities. We then have to address the cost of living wherever we can. And where we can now, the first thing we would do is repeal the sugar tax. That's where we would start. The second thing we would do is we will sit down with the grocers, the importers, to see where we can eliminate costs and reduce food. We'll sit down with young men like Malachi Simons and ask him to put together a program to help teach us the things that he was doing in Devonshire up by the post office, to help us produce food for ourselves and thereby reduce our dependency in going to a supermarket and buying food. We will look at the taxation system and see if we can manipulate and change that to further assist and reduce. We'll talk to the farmers and the fishermen to see where we can help them trim their costs so that they can produce the local food in a cheaper fashion than they are now. Why both? Because we not only want cheaper food, but we want to be able to make ourselves more self-sufficient in the event that we have some crisis that hits us, whereby the ships aren't coming in on a regular basis.
But local brand food costs more.
He's not wrong.
I said it was twofold because it's food security as well as the cost of food.
So, just taking, because there's a whole lot to unpack in that question, but I'll try and keep it tight. So I think the priority that we have to take forward is bringing the Bermudians that have moved away because they don't find opportunity on this island. We need to bring them back. Ultimately, this is their home, and they left because they didn't see any possibility of staying there, whether that's because they didn't have opportunities for work, whether it was too expensive. There's a whole slew of reasons why individuals leave the island, have left the island. And we don't know the numbers because no one's been keeping track of this stuff for the last few years. So that has to be the priority. And under an OBA government, we would make that priority. How do we do that? So one of the things that we would prioritize is payroll tax relief for employers that hire people under 30, Bermudians under 30. We need to get young people back here so that they can lead fulfilling and long lives here and continue to pay into the society, because we are a shrinking population, we have a declining birth rate, and we are not going to be able to sustain the society that we have because it's getting too expensive per person that we have left. So we need to increase that number. My preference would be to incentivize Bermudians to come back, because this is what we are as a nation. We are resilient, right? And we pride ourselves on that. Other ways in which concrete ways in which we can address and incentivize people to come back, reducing the cost of living. I take that, the two principal things that I hear on the doorstep are the cost of food and the cost of energy. So my friend here has mentioned in terms of cost of food, we can look at things like repealing the sugar tax and looking at the customs tariff to see how we can reduce what I've come to learn is called the landed cost of food, right? But on the buyer side of things, there is a concern that even if you bring that relief into place, that's not going to translate into lower prices for the consumer, right?
That's what's happening now.
Exactly. Well, there is an agency that is already in place that I feel could be put to better use, and that's consumer affairs. In other jurisdictions, there are bodies that serve this role as a watchdog and an advocate for consumers. Now, I think it's dangerous for government to insert itself into private business, generally speaking. I think that undercuts the strength of our economy, and certainly, you talk to any grocer, it is a low-margin business despite what people may assume. And any rocking of the boat on that was going to reduce the availability of these outlets where we can bring in food. So I would also like to see more advocacy from the government bureau that is responsible for that. And there are legislative ways that we can shape their purpose and also give them teeth to make sure that the people who are responsible for selling us food are selling it to us fairly and in meaningful ways, or with meaningful pricing that we can get by. Energy-wise, I think the regulatory authority needs an overhaul. Plain and simple. The procedure that they have to follow makes them susceptible to challenge by these companies, and not just energy, but the telecoms. They're hampered because all of these companies have huge war chests and can fight tooth and nail for every decision. And that's not even, a lot of the expertise in the regulatory authority was derived from very profitable careers in those regulated entities that they have oversight of. So I think the regulatory authority does have a role to play in bringing prices down. I think the way it's currently structured, it's not effective, and I would look to make sure that it had the tools it needed to actually impact prices for energy. I spent a lot of time talking about this, so I'll allow my other friends at the table.
So clearly, there is no one quick fix to this. A lot of the ideas that we have are idealistic. Mr. Famous said something pretty profound earlier. He said everyone has to play a part. All of the entities that contribute to Bermuda's economy has to play a part. So, if you allow me to think outside the box, in my mind's eye, to get our young people to come back, because I don't think it's going to happen. I had the opportunity to spend some time in the UK. And it's interesting the power of, or the value of going to other countries and figuring out things that work there, things that don't. And I was thinking, because their banks give their young persons a mortgage or the opportunity to have a mortgage at 21, I said, maybe if our young people had an opportunity to say, you know what, I can actually have a piece of the rock without working for the rest of my life, then maybe that will be something that I can consider, where I can stay on. Or perhaps I can go abroad, come back, but I have an opportunity because, at least the banking system is going to work with me, even though they don't do that now. But it's idealistic to think about stuff like that. But we need everyone's input, because other than that, we're just fumbling in the dark sometimes, and we're hoping and we're wishing. We want a more affordable Bermuda. We've had some great ideas.
That's why
how
we
to get
need
there.
you.
I heard your voice. So we need a more vibrant economy and getting everyone back to work and giving things where people can have a piece of the rock. But how do we get there? It's very difficult. It's where we used to we had the luxury of working 2 and 3 jobs because we wanted that extra change in our pocket. Now we have to work them. No, we have to work those 2 and 3 jobs now. Got you. I'm with you. So with that being said, maybe if our banking system can work with the youth, in my mind's eye, to give them an opportunity to have a mortgage at an earlier age where they don't have to be dependent on waiting for their parents or their grandparents to pass on, yada, yada, yada.
Remember that the people of this country saved the bank.
You know, you're right. We should be putting things in place to help young people get earn a piece of the rock. That's why the government implemented the mortgage guarantee program. Where about 50 young people were able to become first-time homeowners.
Predominantly couples, not single people. It's a predominantly couples, not single peoples, and therefore you have to work with a family unit, family structure to achieve the ability to earn a home. Any other country in the world, one person can actually go and get a mortgage and be able to sustain getting that. They will be able to sustain getting that mortgage off of their one income. You just said that they have to work 3 jobs to be able to do that. That's why they're doing it, because they're breaking their backs to be able to pay this mortgage, to pay the taxes, to pay all the utility services that are Alco, their cell phone, their house phone, they still have it, internet. It's unachievable. And if you don't have a family unit, which as we all know is quite broken in the society right now, like, it's not going to happen. So most people are single nowadays. Most people are actually looking for a 1-bedroom home or even a studio. And the family unit, the old faction. So you have a mother that lives on her own, that has a child, a father that lives on his own, and then they share each other. So therefore, they're never going to earn a home. So, like, what is the way around that?
Okay, as I was saying before, the government did implement the mortgage guarantee program, which was a program to help young people, even young families, to become first-time homeowners. When we talk about the import and the cost of groceries, another thing the government did was reduce the duty on staple goods to 0. And you know what Marketplace did? They brought Hermitage hundreds with your money. No, seriously, the money that was supposed to go back in your pocket was used to buy Hermitage hundreds and then Supermart. So the same people that we have to patronize every week, that we were forced to patronize during COVID, making off like a bandit, they don't want to give you an inch, but they're taking a mile. So that's one of the main problems that we have, is that these big corporations, these big businesses in our country, like Marketplace, is putting up prices and buying out the competition. That's why you're right, Mr. Fayella. We do need an organization that does scrutinize these companies when they're doing mergers and acquisitions, like August and BFNL.
Agreed.
The market is consolidating, and these people are getting richer, and we are forced to deal with inflation that is not that is outpacing our wages.
Can I ask a question? Would you say is that the reason why the government combated that with 75% sugar tax?
That was way before.
Okay, well, that's even worse. So then where's that 75% then?
It was not 75%.
Yes, it is. It's 75% on sugar, bro. Trust me, it is.
Okay. Well, like I was saying, the point is that money, those savings that the consumer was supposed to get never reached the consumer. It ended up in, and I don't know the city people did, it ended up in marketplaces profits. So once we start to put pressure on these companies and corporations that are making off like a bandit and had the nerve to put in the Royal Gazette how they made record profits, until we start getting, like you said, Mr. Fayella, with an organization with some teeth to scrutinize these companies, we're always going to be in the same position.
Come on, all you guys are smart up here, man.
So, the original question was about our Bermudians who live abroad. That was the original question. I think it's disingenuous when people try to paint a picture that everyone that lives abroad is because of cost of living. They couldn't afford a house. They're almost like saying that they're refugees. We have many young Bermudians, professionals, who choose to stay abroad. I have a daughter who's very well educated, is in no form of poverty, who chooses to live in the United Kingdom. That's the story of many. Some people out there because of sports. Some people out there because they fell in love with a French man. Right? So, I say that to say, we don't know how many are living in the UK or United Kingdom, United States or wherever. But let's drill down on cost of living, being that's how we're talking. Let me declare my interest. I work at Balco. Right? I can tell you all, half of Balco's money that you all pay goes towards salaries. Another 25% goes towards keeping up with the equipment. The profit margin at Balco is probably 5%, if that. No, 5% of 100 million is still 5 million, right? My point to say is there is this, how can I say, this illusion, yes, thank you, that Balco is just raking in all these profits and everybody's just making money for doing nothing. That's false, right? What someone else didn't mention is the banks. How many folks in there have paid a mortgage? Have paid or are paying a mortgage? When the banks raise their mortgage rates, it affects you harder than the 20 cents going up on the eggs, right? When you have to pay thousands of dollars or more, you can choose what you buy at marketplace, but you can't choose what you have to pay for your mortgage, correct? So, to what Shomari said, is that the Bermuda government, your government, put in place a home start program for houses that were, let's say, repossessed, that persons can buy at a reduced cost. They went further and put in place that mortgage guarantee program where young persons and now civil servants can put a 10% down payment on a home and pay 5% mortgage rate. Not 10%, not 8%, such as Clarion Bank. All right? For the last 3 years, I've been the chairman of the Bermuda Housing Corporation. We have built, in the last year alone, 70 units that are for affordable rent. When I say affordable, i.e. a 2-bedroom going for $1,500. So the government is doing their part. They can do more. We have to build more houses. We have another 100 houses on the way. To do our part to make it more affordable for Bermudians of all ages to stay here and not have to say, well, should I get on British Airways? So I just think that we should not paint a picture as if those who are living abroad are economic refugees, because that is far from the truth. Thank you.
Who's relegated to Belgium?
What we're going to do, first things first, just to members of the panel, you needn't take it from an old man like me, but But it seems to me that if somebody's monopolizing any industry, you simply put in a competitions commission. And that competitions commission's responsibility is to make sure that they're acting in the best interest of the country as a whole. But that's what they're allowed to do, they're not doing it. And they hide behind that name, but hopefully people don't realize that's their responsibility. But anyhow, we're going to fix these things, I'm told. We're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we're going to come back and finish up. Just so that you can... 5-minute break, just this 5-minute thing here.
Check. Check. Right, check.
Want to say hi to Bermuda Youth Connect?
Hello, Bermuda Youth Connect. Thank you for being here.
Amen. C9.
You want to say hello to Bermuda Youth Connect?
People, we're about 3 minutes in. We've got about 2 minutes left. Get something to eat, go to the parties, and come back. So we're going to keep going. And we're actually going to go as late as you guys want to go. If you want to stay past 7:30, we can stay past 7:30. Ask your questions.
Hey, Sage Cutie. Thank you very much for your support. Thank you, girl. Checking it out.
One minute left. Let's get back to our seats so we can get this going. Panel, you guys are ready? Okay. So we're back at it. So you to get your food. Okay. We have a question here.
Good evening. I have a question. My question is this. But first I'm going to make a statement. With the aging population growing rapidly, with the hospital having people dropping their older parents down there and saying, oh, I'll come back home on Monday, and 2 months, 3 months, they're still down there. What is your solution for the people of Bermuda, for the aging population? And we're all going to get there, but when I get there, I want it to be a solution. I don't want to put that burden on my children. So what can the government or you do for the people that are aging, including yourself? Because you're going to get there too. Shomari. Believe it or not, Shomari, you're going to get there.
Well, getting the bringers.
We already spoke about some of the things tonight when we talked about the cost of living. One thing that I would look to my party to do would be to bring back some version of the indigent clinic, whereby our seniors can go there and get health care for a reduced cost or for free, and that will help alleviate some of that congestion that's going down the hospital. And I'll be fair to the government. The government has made it possible for people to make renovations to their home so that they can keep their parents and have them age in place at home. So I will give kudos where kudos is due to the government in that regard when it comes to seniors. But again, they're affected by many of the same things. We can look at land tax and extending that as far as giving relief to seniors. They have worked hard all their life, and we have a situation now whereby many seniors are forced to work because their pensions aren't making ends meet, in spite of 6 increases. So, again, it's a very complicated thing because it's part of the reform that's necessary in the healthcare system. You should not be able to drop off a relative at the hospital and just disappear. It just shouldn't be possible. The hospital isn't equipped for it. And so, again, it's a very complicated thing to solve, but a lot of what we spoke to about the cost of living and what we should be doing about that is part of the solution. And I think we need to look at some version of the indigent clinic coming back to assisting us with healthcare. And housing is obviously a key component of that as well.
But that's a reality though, isn't it?
Well, so with seniors, I think certainly one of the things that I've encountered with the many seniors that I've spoken to is loneliness. They do feel abandoned by the family that they may have, and many of them, they don't have the resources provided to them to allow them to, just live day to day. I think investment in facilities that will provide those opportunities for, companionship, as well, and blend that with care for those that need it. is important. But I think that you have to kind of go back down the line, because that's a solution, but to get to that solution, there are a number of other solutions that we need to look at in place. So again, it's about looking at elements of the healthcare system. How can we improve access to healthcare and the costs associated with that? To those, I would look at, again, we have to expand the population on islands so that they can pay into that healthcare system. We need to look at, ways that we can make the healthcare system more efficient. So, looking at, one of the problems that I've heard discussed amongst healthcare professionals I've talked with is that there's a lot of duplication of things like tests and treatments, and so there's a lot of things you might have to go to multiple doctors, and they might not know exactly what the previous doctor said, so they're going to order the same paragraph.
You're not even answering my question. I'm asking, the facility-wise, what would you do for facilities?
I said we would invest. We would.
What would you invest? Because I'm chairman of Devonshire Parish Council, right?
Yes, and you have done wonderful work. Yes.
We're building over there. We've been approved for planning to change it, right? But we can't get the funding. But yet people's crying that they need homes for their seniors, but we can't even get the funding to do the renovations. So what would you do as a government to help Devonshire Parish Council to renovate that building so we can rent it out so seniors could have somewhere to go and live? That's what I'm asking.
We would have to prioritize funding, absolutely. And I must compliment
I'm worried about the healthcare part of it. I'm worried about the building. We need to get the building renovated so we can put the seniors in there.
Absolutely.
What will you do to help Devonshire Parish?
So you hit the nail on the head. It's the need for funding at the end of the day. But the question then becomes, how do you get that funding? And that's the point that I'm making, is that we need to find ways to free up cash in the public sector so that we can pay for it. I mean, we can work with other stakeholders to encourage private investment in those as well. Many levers that we can pull. But that's absolutely right. The real solution there, and it is the problem with many of our situation, is we need to have the money to pay for it.
With a 21st century technical school, you could get the students from the school and the college to go there and assist in building a place.
And this is a great example of where you have the solution here, but to get to this solution here, you need to have a solution that leads up to it. You have to build on that. Many of our problems that we face on this island are all interrelated, and you have to walk back through and figure out what the root causes are, solve those first so that you can solve the problems that stem from those root causes. That's the problem. That's what we need to do. Right now, the promises and the plans to solve these problems are on the surface level. They're Band-Aids. You got to dig deeper. You got to find the solutions for the root causes so that you can build on those and then have a sustainable future. And of course, the other thing is you got to pay down the debt. It doesn't sound like it's directly related to that, but the debt is the millstone around all of our necks. Each and every person in this room, if you break it down to individual people, $90,000 a year in debt. The debt is the most important thing that we need to tackle for long-term success as a society. It's as simple as that. And I'll leave it at that.
Come on.
We can only go on if you keep it at a manageable level where we can go on. You're not required. I'm sorry, I just want to make sure they didn't make anybody sign a contract. They said that you have to agree with or support any given view. But most reserve the right for them to have.
I got you, Max. Convince me. I'm right up front.
With respect to the question, I hear you. I'm more involved with solution where, since you said that we have a multitude of an aging population, that one building, we're going to need maybe 4 more. So with that being said, my solution is to try to introduce people to perhaps financial literacy. Because that's one of the things or whatever where we can't go on the same model that our parents and our grandparents went on for most of us, because some of us are making it. But a good many of us are not. And we can't just keep on going on about, I'm going to rely on my pension. I'm going to rely on my pension. And so I'm just saying that we know that too. So with respect to how do we address so that the next generation, because I'm 50-ish, sort of, right? So then I may be all right. I might be all right. But what about everyone else, my peers, my co-workers, everybody else that I come into contact with that's my age or older?
And that's what we're concerned about.
And that's my point. And so I'm saying, how do we...
And tell me that.
Yes. How do we stem the tide of making sure that the next generation doesn't have to be scrimping and scraping with regard to trying to make ends meet? So financial literacy perhaps can be a cognitive issue that we need to address. And then with regard to the funds needed to build that building or get that project off the ground, as an independent, we wouldn't know until we actually get it to cabinet.
Good evening, everyone. Once
No.
All right, so the question is pertaining to seniors. One thing that I know everyone has probably heard about the seniors daycare facility that they're planning to have a Gilbert Institute. So that's one initiative that the government is doing. I would like to see more seniors communities. I know if you ever travel to like Florida or any of those, they have community villages of seniors where you can do, oh my gosh, aerobatics and other aerobics. I apologize. Aerobics. But you have the seniors facilities like in Florida. I know one's called the villages where you have those, because we are having seniors, but they're not as frail and as inactive as they used to be. You still have senior citizens like Miss McCarty, who still goes out there and drives her car. You have senior citizens like Miss Ferber, who's still active in our community. So you have seniors that are still active. But what a lot of seniors need is a downsize. You have seniors who have a big house. They maybe not need that big house anymore. They maybe need something smaller. So a seniors community village would be something that's beneficial, where you have staff that's medically trained on site. You have activities for our seniors. You have visiting centers, so when their family comes, they have a private place if they don't want to take them inside the residence. So you have that there for seniors that may not be on death's doorstep, but are still out there, still involved in this community, and still want to be out there and mobile and whatnot. So that's the things I want to see. I want to see some more community villages for our seniors that pertain to them, where they have seniors there engaging in recreation activity, but also making sure that they have the healthcare needs that they need.
Thank you. Get my hand. Young guy, get the young guy in here. Let me answer your question directly. As Ms. Sims says, whomever is the government in 2 weeks' time has to dedicate money to not just a daycare center, but this government, the PLP government, rebuilt the Sylvia Richardson. We helped to sustain Lorraine Reston and other restrooms. We've given breaks to the restrooms. But the aging population demographic, 30 to 35% of our population will be 65 and over, including myself, right?
Me too.
Now, to be totally Somebody on this panel was born 3 days before me, so that's all I'm gonna say. So I say that in the sense that part of our national strategy, which is what we call this national senior strategy, is that we have to build more rest homes, because there are going to be persons who cannot take care of themselves that need full care, and there are those who need independent care. So how many of you have been down to what the old folks call as the base down the east? How many? Anybody?
Yeah.
When you drive down there, on your way to McDonald's, there's a big green building right over the corner. That building is slated for independent living for seniors. And I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. The government, whoever the government is, cannot do it all by themselves. The government has put out a proposal for private partnership to help make that independent living for seniors.
Yes.
So I'm simply saying to Ms. Sims' question, we have to, lack of a better term, bite the bullet, whoever the government is in 2 weeks, and put money towards increasing living facilities for our seniors. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll take the next question.
Good evening, panel. You all have mentioned the importance of education and specifically mentioned many problems with the middle school. I would like to hear from each of you to see if you have taken the interest or researched the new Signature School and CCK system. The first two schools to transition into this new system, that being Francis Patton and Paris Primary Schools, were both top schools. And since this implementation, there have been numerous problems, even bringing some parents to withdrawing their kids out of the schools, and even some teachers departing. If we say education is a focus, why are we now allowing our primary schools to become in this terrible state? What will you do if elected to change this and to give our children the best possible start to education? Thank you.
Very well said. I answered that one.
Without knowing the full details of what Mrs. Sanders is speaking about, all of us on this panel have agreed that the middle school system had to go, correct? All of us agreed that we need to have more technical education for our young children, correct? So the Signature School system, the Signature School program at the Barclay Institute has one stream for those who wish to study finance, insurance, and some other stuff. At the Cedar Bridge Academy, they have technical programs. It's the first or second year of it. It's more than we had before. It's the first or second year of it. We have not seen that it's detrimental to our children to learn these things. I'm not fully versed with CCK system.
Creative curriculum.
Wait, what?
Creative curriculum.
Oh, sorry, there's too many.
Don't worry, we'll help you out, buddy.
Like from P1 on up.
Preschool.
P1 is
Preschool.
CCK or Cambridge.
So I'm not adequately prepared to answer that question. What I'm simply saying that we have all agreed that the middle school system has to go, it's going. And we have all agreed that technical schools need to be there. That is what we are putting in place. I would do you disservice trying to answer the question any further.
Let's try to combine the answer to primary schools. I think that was the question.
So with the primary schools, I would say that the government, we have to do a better job of implementation. Remember, implementing things, especially with parents, we have to ensure you have all the data, all the information, and that when we're doing things, you're kept abreast of everything that is going on. So I would just say that's one of the things that I've heard from a lot of parents and educators is our implementation has to get better. When we're implementing these, because it is a difficult thing that we're doing. We are maintaining a current system while also building a new system that is supposed to be equipping our children for the 21st century. So when we're implementing these things, we have to ensure that people understand what we're doing, that they're kept abreast of the things that we're going to do, especially because we all want our children to succeed. I want your child to succeed just like I want everybody's child to succeed. So as an MP and as a just a candidate and as a Bermudian, we have to ensure that when we're implementing these systems, everybody's aware of what we're doing and that they're kept abreast of what we're doing. And the last thing I would say is that the parish primary schools actually had a committee where stakeholders in the community in that parish were able to join that board and give input of what they want their schools to look like. And I think that one of the biggest disservices as a community, we aren't taking those initiatives to join those boards when the government is looking for people to come out and give their input. We're not doing it. And it's great to see people heard in this forum, but we have to ensure that even when it's not an election, we're paying attention to what happens and we're also giving our input. So I encourage everyone in your parish to get on that board of the parish primary school so that you can have some input in what's going on in your child's school and in your community school.
So, as I think I mentioned in a prior answer to another question relating to education, I think one of the problems the current primary school reform project faces is that everybody's looking to the government, to the politicians to listen to them when there is input. And I think the challenge that I have with that is that many times the politicians think they know better. Which is why I would support, again, an independent education authority that is empowered to make these reforms, but also supported with proper planning. The approach that this initiative took was flawed from the beginning, in that it was for those of you who might be familiar with working with carpentry or anything, you measure twice, you cut once. In the case of the current education reform, it seems that there was a lot of cutting without too much measuring until after the fact, when people started complaining about the cuts. That, along with the lack of prior consultation, has led to a lot of confusion and anxiety in the community. We saw it with West End Primary. We see it now with Gilbert. The parents don't know what's happening a lot of the time. And you can blame the parents for not contributing or jumping in, but at the end of the day, the parents are looking to the government whose responsibility it is to maintain these schools, and they're looking for the answers and they're not getting them. And they're scared for their children. They're scared for the impact that these decisions that are being made without any acknowledgement of their input are being taken. So we need an independent education authority. We need educators to be thinking about how best to structure our education system so that the students whose interests should come first are getting the education and the resources that they need in all aspects, whether you're academically inclined, whether you want to pursue a specific vocation, or whether you want to enter into an engineering and trades career. The primary school system is essential for building the foundation for all of those things. And playing fast and loose with the day-to-day education of our youth is a recipe for disaster. And we need to take the politics out of education. And the only way we can do that is an independent education authority.
And a national PTA.
Ooh, yes. Oh. Absolutely. Parents are important. They have a lot to say, and they should be involved for 100%.
Yes.
We have a teacher on this panel, so I will answer this question as a parent with 2 kids in the public education system, although my younger of the two is 2 years removed. What I see is this whole reform, although necessary, was poorly planned. It was poorly planned from the transition. It was poorly planned whereby when, as far as Purvis and Francis Patton, the construction that was required was poorly planned. At Purvis, the initial plan was not to put the second story on. That was an afterthought, which again adds to your cost, it adds to the confusion. There was a thought that could happen, the first floor level could happen over a summer. There's no way that would have been able to be possible. So I think it's over promising, under delivering, poorly executed, and the government, when it comes to this part of it, their government, the education system is reformed, they have to take the black eye on this one. There's no way. They are responsible, and a generation of our kids are going to suffer as a result of that.
Thank you very much. So that said, I will try to be as succinct as I can and brief. I work in dysfunction and chaos. I have a mind's eye for the education product to be way better than it is now. What we grew up under, a two-tier system, the only thing that I can say is that they are getting rid of middle school. It's fantastic. The however is that with respect to just primary school, because I want to answer that. Primary school is the foundation. That's the undergirding of learning and where I want to be and how do I get there. That's the view. So what we're doing now, okay, in layman's terms, we're doing all of these different things in different schools. And I'm talking primary school, in different primary schools. The unfortunate thing about that is that when you're a little one, because life happens, if you tend to move to another parish, to another school, you may be doing something completely different. So it's like, yeah, I get it. I want my child to learn Spanish at this school, and they have this going on, they have that going on. But shouldn't it be systemic across the board? Okay, so that's that. I propose Portuguese just because that's my thing. Can't speak a lick. But I think that because we have lived amongst our Portuguese neighbors for so long, why not that Portuguese be a systemic language that is learned? I would love to learn or have a conversation with my neighbors in the native tongue. Hey, how you doing? Da 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 da. And not just the bare words. When it comes to the implementation of primary school and how we're getting this thing sorted out, you know what? I really don't like to talk about other people. I really don't like to name call and point the finger and all that stuff. But when I hear stuff that's, this is what I've done. I teach special needs kids. That's what I do. So there was a radio show, talk show on the other night, and the minister was on, the Minister of Education. He said that the innovation unit. That's the consultants that have come from Australia or New Zealand, wherever they come from. They've been here since 2017. Just to give you a little histrionics on that, there's not a lot of children in public education. It's not a lot. When I started teaching, there was perhaps 17,000. As of today, we have 4,000. We have 4,000 children, less than 4,000 children in public education right now. So that should be wonders for teacher-student ratio. It should be fantastic. The however is that this innovation unit, the minister says that they're going to be here for 10 more years. I asked the same question. Why? They get $2 million per year. I believe the contract was renewed. So when it comes to us taking control of our own destiny, so you mean to tell me that the doctored, degree persons that sit in the magical moed, high loftiness of education, and the master degrees persons that sit up there, that they cannot take control of our destiny and implement what needs to be implemented? Because the minister also said we don't have that skill set in Bermuda.
Excuse me. There's other lady could be calling people's names, making accusations about the person being here.
That's what I said. That's what he said. I listened to the radio. So with that being said, I would hope that we can get this correct. Whatever government there is, whatever person you decide to vote for, we can't play around with this, because then we'll be still talking about these same issues. In the very beginning, we was talking about games, we was talking about all this other stuff. If we don't get this correct, we will be doomed.
Speak on it.
I want to thank you all very, very much. I'll take one more question. My contract was until 7:30. I'm going to apply for overtime. Julia.
Come on, man. Let's get some overtime.
All right. As a retirement specialist in Bermuda, I recognize the importance of the recent social insurance increases in providing much needed relief for seniors. However, with an aging population and economic challenges, how does the government plan to ensure the long-term sustainability of the social insurance fund? And are there any proposed reforms to balance benefits with the financial stability and strengthen support for retirees? And anyone can answer. Your choice.
She's asked, what's the government's position?
Thank you, Ms. Douglas. One of the things of leadership is you have to make sometimes unpopular choices, correct? So one of the things the government has done, starting with the civil service, is change the retirement age from 65 to 67. 68. And they've also changed the amount of the contributions that the civil service have to put in towards their retirement fund. I was out today canvassing, and that question came up as well. Well, what's going to happen in the private sector? The government can't mandate that the private sector raise the retirement, but the odds are that private sector is going to do that on the end, slowly but surely. One of the realities that we also are facing is that
I went somewhere else today, and a lady said, how is it that I'm 70 years old, I'm applying for jobs, and people are discriminating against me based on age? So we have, as was spoken earlier, we have seniors that are able, willing to work to when they're ready to not work, right? They're more reliable. They're not going to be on the phone every minute. They're not going to be calling in sick. So again, it goes back to us as a community having that conversation that this is the reality we're facing. People are living longer. This is the pension plan that we have in this country was started already underfunded. It wasn't like the government stole money or government stole money. It was underfunded from the get-go. What we are doing now is slowly doing those reforms starting within the government. Thank you.
All right. Okay.
One question.
Yes.
When are the Wolves getting a club?
The young man can answer that question.
Anybody heard?
Well, I'll just say this, you're not the only person that I've heard that from. You know, as I've canvassed the community, I've heard it about 3 times. Someone proposed it to put it where the old recycling plant used to be. Someone said you can use my yard. But these are things that you want an MP like me to advocate for. You would want someone like me, a young person who understands the importance of having community clubs to advocate for those things. So I would love to see it, and we can get it done.
Okay, Mr. Talbot speaks as if community clubs just popped up. Community clubs have been around for quite some time. And I would like to thank those families of Hermitage Road who have been a critical component of, first of all, forming the Wolves and keeping them going. And one family in particular, 2 families that I can think of right off the top of my head, the Miners family and the Hill family have had players. My family have had players who have played. The Palestinians and the Dorms have played for Wolves. So I have supported Wolves. I have looked to support Wolves. Mr. Miners put me on hold, but I think they do an excellent job. It's important that a community has a club like Wolves within their midst, and I would support, and that's something we discussed in my canvassing in the past election, as far as the recycling plant being an excellent spot, not only for a club for Wolves, but a community center for Devonshire. Thank you.
And we play golf too.
I'm going to have to cut off. Some reason I'll be here all night. If you've not asked a question before, I'll take one more. You have it, yes.
What is our national brand? What is going to encourage outside international investors come in, bring some money, help our infrastructure, help our students, help with funding and everything? What is our national brand? What are we saying to the world? Who are we as Bermuda? That's what I would like to do. How we can get them come across us, give us some money, and help us.
The things that encourage is the regulatory environment, ease of business, cost of business. Those are the things that would encourage investment. We are struggling with the cost of doing business, and we are struggling with the ease of getting your business set up. We have the Economic Development Department that was set up to provide somewhat of a concierge service. In attempting to do their job, they are sometimes hampered by other government departments. So cost of business, ease of doing business are 2 of the biggest obstacles. So we have to get that corrected. Otherwise, investment goes elsewhere.
I think the question is pertaining to where are we going? Who are the Bermudian people? Who are we in the 21st century? We know who we were in the past, but I don't think it's up to any of us except for myself, to answer that question. Because it's us as young people who have to determine who we are now. It's people like myself and RJ and my boy Douglas in the back. We're going to have to determine what Bermuda is and who we are and what we are as we navigate the 21st century. As I told about it in the beginning, the world is changing. And we, as young people, are the ones that are going to have to forge the future of what Bermuda is going to look like. Who are we? What makes us proud to be Bermuda? What binds us together besides just being in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean together? Those are the things that we are going to have to be meddling with as we navigate the 21st century. Are we going to be a people who just want to be known for drinking a lot? Or do we want to be a people who have a standard of living, who take care of their neighbors, who ensure that the person next to them is always good? Are we going to be that people that continue to use our manners every time we walk into a room? Who are we going to be as a Bermudian people? And that's the question that we as young people are going to have to meddle with, and we're going to have to discuss within ourselves as the up and emerging Bermudians that are going to be taking this country over in the next 10, 20, 15 years.
But at the same time, you're talking about young people, but at the same time, don't you think you need a blend of experience? Mature people rather than
I agree.
So if you would involve the
more mature. Yes.
The more mature people, then you can maybe get a working plan that would move Bermuda forward.
That's what we should do.
Yes.
But once again, it's up to us. Because we're the ones that are going to have to carry that forward. We should go back to our elders and listen to them. But that's going to be up to us, whether we do it or not. That's all I'm saying.
But also,
exactly. If we don't, we'll fail. If we don't learn, we'll fail.
But also, there has to be some listening, not just hearing, but listening. It is a difference. And so by listening, taking those values that once was, and not just throwing them out, but taking them and implementing and building on. And at the same time, a lot of it is respect. Respect. If we have respect for each other, it will move Bermuda in a direction that we will be proud of. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I just heard the lady's question in a slightly different way. And what I heard, I thought I heard, and I apologize. I thought I heard, who are we? And what do we brand ourselves as we speak? That thing makes us believe that people will come to the business and that they know the nature of the business and the quality of a level of people and line of business that they could expect. That's what I thought I heard. And to that end, there isn't an answer yet, but you're right. Somewhere we ought to be having a think tank as I stand here saying we're going to rebrand this country, or what we're going to do to sustain the brand that we think works, if that's what we think. When we come out, we say to the country, this is who we are, this is what we're going to sell to the world, and this is what we need you to buy into, and the part you play in making sure that the brand is delivered. You do that, and I think a few more of us can eat for another couple of weeks. But that's what I thought I heard. I may not have, but that's what I thought I heard.
Yeah, I heard.
All right. I heard. Now, with that in mind, what I'm going to do in closing out tonight, give you gentlemen a very rare occasion, and that is to tell each of you for your own constituencies to tell people why you think you ought to be selected. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Yes. As I stated in my opening comments, I'm fully integrated into the Devonshire East community. My family sees Devonshire East as my home. I have experience as a minister. I have experience as a member of parliament. And what affects you affects me. And you know, I'll use my experience, my business experience, and my time in the government to represent your interests, not to represent the One Bermuda Alliance interests. When you elected me as your MP, I was not elected to represent the interests of the PLP, and likewise now, if you choose me in C9 to represent you again, I'm representing your interests, not the One Bermuda Alliance interests. That is the banner I'm running on. But I'm representing your interests. Thank you.
So, I'd like to just share with everybody again, you know, that with my experience and my skill set, I believe that I can be the most effective representative as a member of Parliament for the community in constituency 11, Devonshire East. I have the experience needed to translate what I'm hearing on the doorstep into policy and law, which is what we need to get us out of the problems that we face. And with all due respect to my opponent, who has done some really good things in the community, I can't take away from that, Chris. What I will say, though, is we need more to get us out of this. And I genuinely believe that I can be the more effective representative in Parliament. And why do I say that? Again, I have the skill set. I have the ability to negotiate and persuade. And my motivation for doing this is not for the JPMP. It's not for the ministerial car. It's because I have 2 young children and I want to see them thrive on the island that I love, just as I've been able to do. I've come back, I've put down my roots, and I want my kids to feel comfortable doing the same. And with that, I ask humbly for you to put your faith in me and to vote for me on election day.
All right, Frank.
Well, first of all, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Sick and tired of being sick and tired. So I will offer a choice, a different choice, new direction, and a new hope.
First, I want to remind everyone, constituency 9 is Smith West, not Devonshire East. So, the reason I'm running in Smith West is because I live here. I live in this community. I'm a part of this community. I wake up in this community every day. I'm a young man. I went to Hermitage Primary School. Tell it. My name is Shomari Talbot-Woolridge. I mean, that is a Smith's name if you ever heard one. So I'm so connected to this community and this country and this parish, and I am a young person who is ready. I'm ready to represent you in the House of Assembly. I'm ready to take your issues and your concerns and tackle them head on. No matter who is on the other side of the ring, I'm ready to fight for you. And while some people think they're new, we had John Swan before. And while some people think we're going to go back to the OBA, I don't want to do that. I want a representative in Smith West who's going to be on the doorstep, who's going to be active in the community, who wants to canvass all the time, but most importantly, who wants to create meaningful legislation that improves your lives. That's the number one thing we're to do. To go into the House, pass legislation to improve your material condition. We understand cost of living is going up around the world. We have global inflation. We have COVID. People are feeling it. And I'm here to tell you I'm feeling it too. But I'm here to fight with you and for you.
Good evening again. Thank you for the opportunity. I've walked up and down Devonshire for the last better part of 10 years. I've never once asked somebody or begged somebody to vote for me. All right? I go to every neighborhood in Devonshire East, some in Smiths West, not because I want to vote, but because I'm there to represent the people. So I say all that. I'm not even going to ask any of you to why you should vote for me. My track record is clear. Whether I am elected in 2 weeks' time, I will still be a neighbor, and I will still be a family, and I will still be out there cutting the grass and painting the trees, painting walls.
Well, if you elect me, let me thank all of you for coming out this evening. I thought the evening was extremely civil. We were extremely respectful. I thought the members of the panel performed well, and it may be a formula. I think it may just be a formula for the way we get to meet some of our representatives we would elect going forward. Well done to the organizing committee, and according to Mr. Woolridge, I can't make a promise that I'll be here for the next one. But nonetheless, thank you all for coming. Well done, and well done, panel. Thank you.
First,